Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We're so excited to have you join us at the Apprenticeship PHL 2021 Symposium. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, type your name and affiliation in the Whova chat. You will find that in the top right of your screen. We're really excited for the panel conversation this morning. I'm going to go through a little bit of some housekeeping before we introduce our fabulous moderator and panelists. So Apprenticeship PHL is a regional public-private collaboration with the overall goal of increasing and aligning registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship across the Philadelphia region and its surrounding counties. And to do that, we do a range of efforts. But before we talk about what we do, who we are, we've got over 17 different organizations that are a part of this effort, anything from regional workforce boards to educational institutions, sponsors, employers, intermediaries. We've got a really amazing group that support the efforts regionally. And so how can we support you? We do really sort of 5 different key activities: outreach, education, and awareness, like the activity that we've got going on for the next 2 weeks. We support apprenticeship registration. So if an employer wants to begin to register an apprenticeship, we go through the process with you. We provide some support and technical assistance. If you've got a registered apprenticeship and need some technical assistance, we also provide some of that. And we support folks in pursuing funding opportunities that can help support and expand registered apprenticeship, as well as foster regional partnerships that really help this grow. As we talk about apprenticeships, you know, it's all about partnerships and having the right partners to help the model that you create for your organization to thrive. So part of why we selected this platform is because it allows for you to do a lot of networking. We want to help create connections and relationships across the region. So if you click on attendees, you can see all of the participants that are at the symposium. You can view their profile, see if they may be a great connection for you to make. You can send them a message or request to do a video call with them, all within the Whova platform. We also have a community. So if you've got apprenticeship resources that you want to share or questions you want answered, you can also click on the left of your screen in community and start a conversation. Housekeeping. So attendees for this session are muted with your cameras off. The session is being recorded, and so we encourage you to use the chat and Q&A function within Whova on the top right of your screen. Lastly, if you want to connect with us, we are on social media. We have a website. We are tweeting live with our hashtag APHL 2021. So feel free to join the conversation online. And lastly, if you want to chat with us and you want to have a conversation to explore if this is something that might be a fit for your organization, or if you want to explore how you can get involved, you can go ahead and complete the doodle poll that's on the chat right now. Thank you, Cassandra. And you can go ahead and schedule time and learn more. That is all I have. With that, I want to say thank you to Christy Shooter-McGuire, who's volunteered to moderate this wonderful session. We look forward to a great conversation.
Thanks, Maria. As Maria said, my name is Christy Shooter-McGuire, and I am the Associate Dean of Biomedical Studies at the Wistar Institute. The Wistar Institute became our nation's first nonprofit biomedical research institute in 1892 and a National Cancer Institute designated cancer center in 1972, a designation it has held continuously since that time. Today, Wistar is a global leader in biomedical research with special expertise in cancer, immunology, infectious disease, and vaccine development. We have an important role in training the next generation of scientists with a pipeline of programs for high school, undergraduate, and graduate students, as well as postdoctoral fellows. This includes our Biomedical Technician Training, or BTT program, created by Dr. William Warner in 2000, which to date has prepared over 160 students from the Community College of Philadelphia for positions as laboratory technicians and research assistants, and now serves as a registered pre-apprenticeship. In 2017, Wistar created our Biomedical Research Technician Apprenticeship Program, the first non-traditional apprenticeship in biomedical research in the country. Wistar plays a unique role as an apprenticeship sponsor in that we also serve as a training provider and have employed apprentices in our program. So we span the gamut in sponsor roles. In addition, we also partner with other education providers. I mentioned the Community College of Philadelphia and other employers for our apprenticeship program. So I was really excited when I was asked to moderate this panel, where we're going to focus on the roles, perspectives, and lessons learned by sponsors of different apprenticeship programs. So I'd like to introduce you to our three panelists this morning. The first served as a moderator yesterday, so I have some big shoes to fill. He did a great job in yesterday's panel, and that is John Colborn. So today he gets to serve as a panelist in his role as Chief Operating Officer at JEVS Human Services, which is a multifaceted social services nonprofit in the Philadelphia region. John oversees the organization's wide-ranging service delivery functions that connect over 30,000 area residents with supports in the areas of employment and skills training, vocational rehabilitation, recovery services, adult residential and day services, and in-home personal care. So I'd like John to introduce his apprenticeship programs at JEVS.
Thanks, Christy, and just so happy to be here in this role where I get to talk a little bit about the work at JEVS Human Services. We really have a lot going on in the apprenticeship space and have played a role in a couple of different apprenticeshipable occupations. So we have apprenticeship programs in information technology. We're a multi-employer sponsor of apprenticeship in that role. We also have we also manage a multi-employer apprenticeship in manufacturing. We participate in as a related technical instruction provider in an apprenticeship in the construction trades industry. We internally actually hire apprentices and have registered apprentices internally to JEVS. And then externally, we participate in multi-employer apprenticeship programs for some of our team members. So we have really a wide-ranging interest and footprint in apprenticeship. Broadly, we really see our role in helping craft solutions that work for workers and for employers, and that use the apprenticeship tool to solve talent needs for employers and advance economic opportunity for job seekers.
Thanks, John. Our next panelist is Mr. Ed Krausek. He's the administrator of the International Association of Heat and Frost Insulators and Allied Workers, JAC Local Union 14 Training Center. Ed began his career with Local 14 as an apprentice himself in 2000 and completed his apprenticeship training in 2004. He has been a leader as a foreman in many different industrial, pharmaceutical, and commercial construction projects, and currently leads 96 apprentices, 5 instructors, and 1 administrative assistant. He also leads the asbestos abatement training curriculum, as well as the continuing education for journeymen, and is an active member of the Heat and Frost Insulators and Allied Workers International Steering Committee. So Ed, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your apprenticeship program?
Thanks, Christy. I'm still just a construction worker that they lead this program for them. So basically what we do is we do not stuff walls. Everybody thinks that's what we do in insulation. That isn't what we do. That's another trades jobs that they do. It's the carpenters in the city of Philadelphia. What we do is mechanical insulation, steam piping, chilled water systems, any heat and hot water that goes through a pipe, we insulate it. and your ductwork as well that supplies your cold air. We've been around for 110 years, the Insulators Union. 1969, we became a registered apprenticeship program. So we kind of know what we're doing up here. We've been around for a while, learn from our mistakes, and do nothing but want to put the best apprentices available. What we do in the apprenticeship, it's a 5-year apprenticeship program. We do 10 6-month periods, 10 classes per semester, 8 hours of class every other week. And then we give 9,000 hours of paid experience. So basically you go to work 9 out of 10 days. And then the 10th day you come to class and we teach you your craft. We became an accredited institution with the Council of Occupational Education in 2016. We're the only Insulators Union that has that title. It was very hard to get, and the administrator before me took on a journey that was an eventful thing, but that looks great, and we're proud of that. And in our program, you can gain up to 45 college credits.
Yeah, that's amazing, Ed. I can't wait to hear more about the program as we go along today. So our third panelist is Mr. Raymond Mee, who is the training manager at the Philly Shipyard. Ray has over 40 years of heavy industrial and manufacturing experience, including offshore drilling platforms, electric utility power plants, refineries, and manufacturing. After honorably serving in the U.S. Army, Ray attended a community college where he earned his certificate of completion in the field of industrial electricity and electronics, and eventually joined Mississippi Power, a Southern company, as an instrument and controls technician. Ray completed an apprenticeship himself while with Mississippi Power and began working on his engineering degree while continuing to work full-time as an IC technician. After completing his Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering, Ray accepted positions of increased responsibility within Mississippi Power before retiring from that company. In 2017, Ray began working at Philly Shipyard as the training manager, overseeing the registered apprenticeship programs and other training initiatives. As a graduate of an apprenticeship program and later a graduate of engineering from a major university, I think Ray is a great example of apprenticeship as an entry-level pathway that can lead you into higher positions. So Ray, please introduce your apprenticeship at the Philly Shipyard.
Thank you, Christy. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, obviously listening to that, I couldn't figure out where I needed to be. But the important thing about coming out of that university is I was debt free as well, using various, company benefits as well as GI Bill at the time. The apprenticeship program here at Philly Shipyard is a registered Department of Labor registered apprenticeship program. We have 4 occupations that are listed under that program. One of the occupations is a welder, one is ship fitter, one is joiner, and the other is a machine operator. Primarily what we utilize out of those 4 is the welder and the ship fitter. We are just starting back up again. I came back out to the shipyard in late June, and we are accepting applications right now, actually, for our apprenticeship program that we hope to start up in April. We typically do 4 cohorts a year of anywhere from usually 12 to 16, but right now with the COVID, we're trying to make things accommodating for social distancing. So we're going to limit it to 10 at this time. We'll probably do 3 cohorts this year and then jump into 4 cohorts next year. So we have a lot of positions to fill out here over the next couple of years as we embark on building new ships for the Merchant Marine Academy. So our program is 3 years in length, each one. There's 6,000 hours in total of on-the-job learning. And we have a total of 543 hours of related technical instruction. Part of that instruction is online through Penn Foster. And then the other is through our partnership with the Collegiate Consortium. So we utilize the local community colleges in the area, Camden over in New Jersey, as well as Philadelphia Community College, Montgomery, Bucks, Delaware Community College, and also Drexel University to provide some of those classroom-led courses that we offer. Our apprentices actually work 4-10s, and so when they do their instruction-led classes, they come in on their own time on Friday and Saturday. Not every Friday and Saturday, but it's a commitment that they make to be on site to take those courses. And so we're really excited to get it up and going again, you know, and get some folks back to work and start building these new national NSMVs, is what we call National Security Multi-Mission Vessels for the Merchant Marine Academies. They're training ships for the Merchant Marine cadets. So we're really excited to get this going again.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for being here.
Sure.
So one thing that I heard that we are all doing a lot of as sponsors of apprenticeship programs is juggling, right? So we juggle our apprentices, we juggle education providers, or getting that certification, as Ed talked about, to be the education provider. We, you know, juggle sometimes other employers as a sponsor of our own apprenticeship. So why does your organization do it with, you know, all of these responsibilities, with all of this juggling? You know, why do your organizations choose to sponsor apprenticeships?
Well, I'll jump in. You know, I mean, first off, I think we have to, the reason we're here is that apprenticeship really is a gold standard of workforce development interventions. You know, over and over again, when you look at the data and how people have benefited from apprenticeship, you just see the significant outlier benefited from workforce development programming. The significant outlier really is apprenticeship. People get far higher earnings gains, get to higher levels of earnings in general, have far more success in labor markets coming through and out of apprenticeship. And so, you know, I think as a workforce development provider, we just felt like we needed to be playing at that level. We needed to have those programs. There are lots of challenges in doing them. You just named a few of them, but we really felt like we needed to be in the middle of it. I think the other thing that really attracted us to moving forward aggressively into the apprenticeship space is that you know, we are hearing from our job seekers that they need earn and learn solutions. That the old model that you would take time out for a year or 2 years and go to classes and maybe spend a lot of money and then get a job just doesn't work for a lot of our folks, and just starts people in debt and behind the game. And so finding these earn and learn opportunities, apprenticeship being perhaps the best example of that, was really critical to us. And then finally, I think we saw from our employer partners a real desire to kind of roll up their sleeves and get the competency and instructional piece better aligned to the needs that they had. And I think there's been a growing frustration among employers that higher education, secondary education is not preparing people in the way that they need to be prepared for jobs. And what better way to do that than to sit down with employers, define the competencies, define the learning needs, and link those in a very direct way with on-the-job learning experiences. That just intuitively makes a lot of sense. So I think for all those reasons, we really saw apprenticeship as a critical area that we wanted to get into. And I think for us, you know, we'll get to challenges in a little bit, but for us, the challenge is definitely that this is not a low intensity set of behaviors. It requires a lot of commitment from employers, from apprentices, from sponsors. And so how do you then sustain that economically and in other ways is certainly a challenge that we face every single day. But look forward to talking about that down the road.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I love the earn and learn model. That's definitely what attracted me to apprenticeship. You know, the idea that it's not, you know, an either or, an either, you know, post-secondary education, you know, or a work experience, and really that, you know, everybody needs both in order to be, you know, successful on a career pathway. So JEVS is an intermediary organization serving as a sponsor of various apprenticeships. Ed, the insulators are a union serving as an apprenticeship. So can you tell me a little bit why the insulators chose to become an apprenticeship sponsor? If you have the history from back in 1969, or at least why they still continue to support the program.
Thanks, Ritzy. So we're a union sponsor. We run with a JAC board. We have 3 employers and 3 union reps that sit on our board, and they pretty much basically control the JAC training that we provide here. From what I was told from 1909, when we first got originated, there was apprentices then, but they just came to work their first day and they taught them how to do the business. So we put together a curriculum in 1969, put that in with the Department of Labor, and that got approved. And then we've grown astronomically since then. The industry's changed, everything's changed about construction, safety, all aspects of it. So the employer, when they get their apprentice from day one, say they start their first day, March 1st, which would be one of our start dates, he's going to go work for that employer. He's supposed to know what he's doing. Well, he doesn't, because he's never even picked up a piece of insulation. He thought he was stuffing walls when he was really supposed to be insulating a pipe. So they realized that we need to train these people and train them well. So in 2016, when we changed it again to what we are today, they were a little bit hesitant on it because the classroom setting became less hands-on and more classroom. So we're like 50-50, but you need to learn why you're doing the installation part. This way you can sell it to the customer while you're on the job. And so the employers grasped at that, and they were like, oh, this is great. We don't even need to be on the job. They can sell our product to the customer. So they learn all about that part of it while they're in the classroom. And then we go to the hands-on training in the shop out there. And that's pretty much geared on what the employers want, what they're looking for. We constantly in contact with them. I'd say at least twice a month with the employer. We meet quarterly for a meeting to review the program and to have anything that's coming up that's hot topic, say with safety or new products that are being introduced regularly in our industry. They're fully on board, and any recommendations they bring to me, we see what we can do about it. And then the employers, they just get up and running with it. They get along well with the union. We're at about 85% graduation rate here, and we're at 100% employment. They come to us looking for men or women to go to work, and we supply them with well-trained workers.
Yeah, some amazing history and outcomes, Ed. Thanks for sharing those. Ray, you're working for a private employer who is also an apprenticeship sponsor. So why has the Philly Shipyard chosen to be a sponsor?
Yeah, good question. So we became registered in 2004 as a registered apprenticeship program, and have gone through some changes over the years. Originally, we started off as a 4-year program. Now we're a 3-year program. So we've made some changes along the way. To be a sponsor, it takes effort. It takes effort, and it takes a commitment on the employer side of things. So, to be able to put together that work process, as far as having, a good layout of what the on-the-job training is going to look like, and also what the coursework for the related technical instruction, all that has to be put together, and then it has to go before the council, which they ask a lot of questions, and it's a good thing that they do. Because it makes it a very strong program, and it brings a lot of value as an employer to what we are trying to do here. And so, when an apprentice comes on board with us from day one, they're a full-time employee. It's not part-time, and we don't have to. There is a probationary period, but there's no time that they're not a full-time employee. So that comes with, the full benefits that come with being a Philly Shipyard employee. And they spend 12 weeks, in the training academy, learning the welding principles and practices. And it takes, it's quite a commitment. It's 10-hour days that they're working. And then after 12 weeks, we roll them out into production, where they are assigned to a supervisor and a mentor, you know, to kind of take them through the rest of the program when it comes to on the job. But after 12 weeks, they're actually contributing to the building of a new ship. And that brings a lot of value and a lot of pride, you know, to them as well, especially when it's sitting in the dock and they, you know, they get ready to see it being delivered to the customer. So we do have a JAC, we do have a joint apprenticeship committee because we are a union shop. And so our apprenticeship program is what they call a joint sponsor. So that's a union. You have non-joint, joint, and group, as John spoke about, where you have multiple employers. So we're a joint, and so we have our apprenticeship committee is made up of myself, and then also we have 3 members that are non-union and 3 members that are union. And we review the program on a regular basis. We do all the reviews as a group to each of our apprentices. So when an apprentice comes in every 4 months, we do a review. We look at their safety record, their attendance, you know, how they're doing in the classroom, how they're doing on the job, and so forth. So there's a lot of commitment on an employer side of things to do it. But in the end, we see, you know, the results of that 72% retention rate and opportunities to grow into other areas of the company. And we've got a pretty good track record at doing that.
That's great to hear. I love to hear that the employer and unions are really working together, right, for the best possible outcome for both, you know, the company and the employee. So I know that's not always the case, but I'm happy to hear that it is at the Philly Shipyard. John mentioned hitting at some of the challenges. So my next question for our panelists is, what are some of those challenges you have faced, and how are you tackling them?
I'll go, Christy, if that's okay. I guess our one biggest challenge is that there's not enough time in this apprenticeship to teach them everything they need to learn. We have 900 hours we have them for, and every hour that is, it's taken up with something, whether it be training, fire stopping, layouts, math or something like that, union history, labor history. They need to learn why they're at where they're at now. And we go to the employers, and the employers like, well, we need to teach them this, we need to teach them that. Well, let's start with day one, how they're going to do it, and then rise from there. You know, just gain on each experience that they have. So as the employer sits there and they say they need to learn to do this, okay, we'll put that in the curriculum. We can add it, but we need to take something out. All right, well, you can't take that out because they also do that. We probably need 5 more years, I guess, to teach them how to do everything that we do. I don't think I'd learn every day still in construction, you know, up to the last job I ran for them. But we take the best of what they got and we try to do it on a smaller scale, introduce it, talk about it. There's plenty of times for an open discussion with the apprentices, and we try to deal with the foremen and the mechanics that are on the job to make sure that they're instructing them as well. They're a big asset to our local when they're on the job site, showing them the correct way to do things. And we need the apprentices to question them. How are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And then it makes for a great understanding with their, and then we get on to the larger projects. It's the same thing. Somebody that was on a commercial side ends up on an industrial setting. And next thing they went from 1.5-inch pipe to 36-inch piping, and they go, wow, it's the same thing. It's just one's bigger than the other one, you know, and they end up grasping it. And our mechanics, journey workers that are here are fantastic. They've all gone through the program. Most of them have gone through the newer version of the program. They've been here 20 years or more. But as long as those mechanics and journeymen keep on training, the employers are happy, you know, and they get what they're paying for.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Ray, you want to go next?
Sure. Thank you. So I would say that one of our challenges that we have, you know, in the very beginning is we require all of our applicants to do an assessment. So they will be coming in to do a mechanical aptitude and a basic reading and math. We use Ramsey aptitude test as well as the Bennett. And what we have found is we're getting, and our cutoff score is 70 and below. Well, 70 and above is what we accept, and anything below 70 we don't. And what we're finding is we're getting about a 54% success rate, pass rate in that. So that becomes a challenge as well. And I can speak on behalf of myself. You know, we may be losing out on some pretty good candidates. I personally was not a very good test taker, you know, but that's one of the criteria that we use. And these things are what is set up by the Joint Apprenticeship Committee that are agreed upon. But but in using that, we do also get some very good candidates that come through our program. So that's a bit of a challenge, you know, is to make sure that people are prepared to come in and take that assessment. We also require a high school or GED equivalent to be able to be hired on. And then the other thing that I would say is, you know, we do a pretty wide sweep when it comes to advertising for candidates. And in some cases, you know, there's some issues when it comes to transportation. You know, there are some people, especially in the city, that they don't have cars, you know, and during the week at the shipyard, it's not that bad because there is a bus that has the loop that comes around here. But we also do things on the weekends too, and that becomes a bit of a challenge because that transportation is not available. So we try to work through some of those issues, but those are significant challenges for some of the candidates that are coming in, the people that want to work out here. I'd love to see some additional infrastructure put in to be able to accommodate that, especially because, you know, so many people in the city don't have, you know, transportation, and some don't even have that driver's license because it's really not needed. So we're kind of on the outside of the city limits, and I've heard this from other companies as well, that transportation issue can be a pretty big deal. As far as challenges inside, once you're in the program, or challenges that we have, again, it's kind of been mentioned. You know, we try to stay on top of the latest in our coursework that we do. I've just had some meetings with some of the online training providers that we use, you know, that we're updating some of those courses and just trying to stay on top of that so that we're, you know, we're staying on top of the latest in technology that we're installing out here. I mean, we're putting a lot of brand new robots in, all new software. So our machine operators are having to get up to speed on that, new welding equipment, new welding robots, and so forth. So it's a challenge, but it's one that's a lot of fun, actually. I mean, it's, you know, you got to keep the wheels moving, you know, keep everybody going. And I find it rather exciting myself. So that's pretty much our challenges in a nutshell.
Thanks, Ray. It's exciting to hear about how quickly technology is moving at the Philly Shipyard, because I thought that was one of the challenges that John would bring up with apprenticeships in IT. So John, if you can speak to that or other challenges that JEVS has had as a sponsor of apprenticeship, we would appreciate it.
I mean, actually, you know, following on Ed and Ray, I can just say yes, all of that. I think, you know, if you look at you know, what I might call the supply side, you know, as people are seeking apprenticeships, you know, the challenge of connecting the right people to the right opportunity is definitely a challenge for us. And we've actually, in the information technology area, which you mentioned, Christy, we've actually built out a pre-apprenticeship program that really helps us prepare folks to enter into apprenticeship, gives people the sort of career exposure to decide whether or not this is right or wrong for them. It allows us to take people who might not be quite ready for apprenticeship just yet, but be able to coach them up and build the technical skills so that they are able to access apprenticeship. And so I think there's a lot to be said for these kind of pre-apprenticeship structures down the road in terms of being able to expand the accessibility of apprenticeships to other populations. And we actually spend a lot of time really looking across our programs to try and source people into apprenticeship opportunities from folks who have been in our technical college or have been part of one of our early career exposure programs, or who have been part of other kinds of employment and training efforts at JEVS. but definitely, you know, finding the right people for the right opportunity is always a challenge for us. We also think it's a big part of our value add to be able to sort of make those connections, but still a challenge. I think the other side, if I could take the other side, because though we run some apprenticeship programs for our own employees, most of our footprint is actually working with other employers as sponsors or as service providers into their apprenticeship programs. You know, the labor markets are tough, right? So we have ups and downs in demand, and you know, we had a very deep relationship with the healthcare provider, and the pandemic hit, and they just weren't ready to talk about apprenticeship for a while. We think they're back ready to talk about it, which will be great. But you know, that completely understandable. They just needed to focus on that. Or just the drop off in hiring in the last 12 months has really taken the steam out of some of our apprenticeship work. The third area where I think we have challenges in our apprenticeship is kind of what I might call the mechanics of operating in this intermediary role. And so, you know, if you think of it, you're sourcing labor, you're designing a program to meet the competency and technical instruction needs of the employer, but there's all this stuff that happens in between. So registering the apprenticeship, the paperwork on tracking apprentices, you know, sometimes raising a little money so you can braid that into the whole solution. You know, there's you know, advising on the implementation, setting up the mentoring structures, all of that. And honestly, you know, there's not well-designed business models that support that whole level of activity. And so, you know, employers will pay a little bit. We've been very, very fortunate to have a lot of support from Philadelphia Works and other funders to be able to provide some public subsidy to go into that work, which allows us especially to be able to drill down into populations who might not otherwise have access to apprenticeship opportunities. But nevertheless, we are struggling with how do you do this in a sustainable way? And I think a lot of intermediary organizations are really struggling with that. It's one thing I have to say, organized labor has figured out from very early on, and some of these joint apprenticeship approaches with the negotiated contribution from the employer really does create a sustainability model that outside of organized labor employers, it's harder to find those kinds of structures.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that, but also wanted to you know, thank the state of Pennsylvania Apprenticeship and Training Office and Philadelphia Works for all of you know, the technical and financial support that they've provided us for pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs. So one challenge that you guys didn't mention, but we have a question from the audience about is about apprenticeship serving as a vehicle to bring in diverse candidates. So we're really proud at Wistar that our pre-apprenticeship program over the past 20 years, we have of our students who have completed the program, 52% have been from underrepresented backgrounds and 71% have been women. But I know that this is a challenge that apprenticeships, especially in more traditionally male-dominated fields, have dealt with. Can any of you speak to how you are trying to attract more women and people of color to your apprenticeship programs?
I'll take this one, Christy. So we historically have been trying to get women into the trade program for a long time. We're struggling to even get them to come in and take applications. I think we had 2 in our last application period. We partnered up with Women in Non-Traditional Careers, WINC, to try to figure out what we're doing wrong. They do it right at WINC, and we went to them and said, help us. How can we attract women into our industry? I think it was about 4 years ago, our international had changed a lot of our trifolds literature and stuff like that. We actually have a spot for women in insulation on our website. The Women's Builds Nations, we're an active participant in that. I think we took 7 women with us down in 2019 before the COVID hit. I think man, that was crazy. I think they had about 3,500 women in there, and it's a movement, and we want to be part of that. And we're hoping we can help us solve that problem.
Great, thanks, Ed.
And I'll just note, I think I think this is really a benefit that employers are actively looking for. And I know our work with employers is very much focused on this. This is front and center, one of the objectives they're trying to get to in the healthcare apprenticeship and the medical assistant apprenticeship. They were definitely looking for folks who could better relate to the customer base of the healthcare provider, who would be multilingual, so I think they were definitely looking. There was a diversity angle there for sure. We know in our information technology area, a lot of employers in this area recognize that they need to be doing more about building diversity, equity, and inclusion into their workforce, and are looking to apprenticeship programs to help address that, at least partially. So I think at least in principle, employers are on board. There's a lot of support there, and I think for us then the challenge is, can you design the on-ramps that, number one, fully engage communities that have historically been excluded or don't feel like they have been a part of apprenticeship or been part of careers in some of these industries. Number two, can you, to the extent there are gaps or things that we need to do to help them prepare for apprenticeship opportunities, can we provide those kinds of opportunities through pre-apprenticeship and other kinds of preparation efforts? And then finally, can we be sure that we're helping people stick in apprenticeship, using the mentoring model to do that, as well as other kinds of supports and wraparound services, so that folks don't get sidetracked or taken off of apprenticeship by things that come up in their lives, especially early on. And so I think those are the challenges we all have in terms of diversifying apprenticeship broadly. I think there are ready solutions to do that, and our task is to figure out how to do that, pay for that, and do that in a successful and sustainable way.
Thanks, John. That's great to hear. Ray, do you want to add anything about Philly Shipyard's?
Sure. Yeah. It's definitely a challenge. And we want our workforce out here to look like, the city of Philadelphia and the surrounding area. We want to have that the demographics, that makes us part of this great city. And so, it's a challenge, and John mentioned it. I think we're all trying to do the same thing and trying to do it, the best way that we know how. But there's some roadblocks in there. Who do you contact? Ed had mentioned Wink, and we have done the same thing. Our application process that we just started this week actually came upon us pretty quick, and so we reached out. We advertise on social media, we advertise on our website, we advertise through CareerLink, and then I've made some phone calls to folks like Barbara Allen at Philly Works. I said, who can I contact to make sure that we get this word out to everybody? And so I got some really good feedback from Wink as well. They are definitely going to advertise for us, but also the feedback I got, was, I would suggest that you do this with your website, put the hourly rate that they're going to start at, what are some of the growth opportunities, and then, highlight some of the women that have been through our program. And we have a young lady out here that went through our program as a ship fitter, and she's working in design right now, and she's working on her bachelor's degree, and she's pretty close to finishing that as well. So, and then also another young lady who's working with Wink right now has a video out on how she got started in welding, and she was a part of our apprenticeship program as well. So, I'll share a quick story. There's a young lady that contacted me back in July. she gave me a call and she said, when are you going to start up your apprenticeship program? I want to be a welder. And I said, oh, okay. I said, I don't know at this point, I said, but I'll definitely, send me your information. So I held on to it. And I told her, I said, keep calling me back. And so she called me back about once a month. And I said, I'll let you know, we're not ready to go yet. And then last week when we found out that we're going to be advertising, I called her up. And she was just, her family has worked at the Navy Yard, her dad and uncles and everybody, and she wants to be a part of that that heritage. And so we're real excited. I mean, she's going to be coming out to pick an application out and sharing that with her friends and so forth. And so we're trying to do the right thing, and and making sure that we advertise to the entire area, that we represent. But it's a challenge, but we're getting better. And any suggestions anybody has, we're more than willing to listen.
Yeah, I will just add, if you missed the WINC programming, the Women in Non-Traditional Careers programming through Philadelphia last week, it was excellent, and you can still get those resources. So one of the things, Ray was talking about some success stories, which we love to tout. Everybody has, great success stories from their apprentices, either staying in the position or going on and progressing in their career. So, I think that's one of the benefits of being an apprenticeship sponsor, as well as something that Ray spoke about, this idea of contributing, right? Like contributing to the building of a ship. One of our success stories, one of our current apprentices who's about to finish our biomedical research technician apprenticeship, had the opportunity to contribute to a COVID-19 vaccine that is currently in clinical trials from the Wistar Institute. So, we're extremely proud of that. So do you guys want to share any other benefits that your organization has had of being an apprenticeship sponsor?
I'll go ahead and jump back in. With the success rate that we have with the apprentices that come through the program is they don't when they finish the program, they're on day shift. We have 3 shifts typically when we're in full production, but through the time that they're in the apprenticeship, they're on the day shift because of all the classes and everything that they have to take as well. When they come out of that program, they become members of the ERT, or Emergency Response Team, which is a lot of training that they have to go through, and they're very vital, to our safety department. That we have a good, solid ERT team out here. They become team leaders, which is the first step. If you move out of the apprenticeship, or if you move out of your skill, that you would take, and then from there into a supervisor, and then from there to a foreman and a manager. And we haven't had it at the manager level at this point, but we have had apprentices that have made their way to the foreman level, which is quite an accomplishment. And the other thing as well is that when they come out of the program, they receive 29 credits from the local community college towards an associate degree, a technical degree. And many of them have taken on that task of completing that associate degree and moving into other areas of responsibility. And then, like I mentioned, Cherie a little earlier, working on her bachelor's degree now. A lot of opportunities, for our apprentices when they come into the program. And we, they're the future of the shipyard. And so we want to train them up, to be able to take over these higher levels of position. We provide, leadership training courses, presentation skills courses, all kinds of things that come after the apprenticeship program.
Thanks, Ray. I think a lot of people think that apprenticeships train individuals for jobs, right? But, you and Ed are great examples of apprenticeships training individuals for careers, right? So the apprentices are so well trained upon completing their apprenticeship, that they are better qualified than others to take on those leadership positions. So, John or Ed, do you guys want to share any other benefits?
I mean, I'll just, the stories over and over again. We were just at a apprenticeship graduation ceremony with some of our manufacturing apprentices, and to hear the stories of folks who came into a manufacturing environment with lots of interest and great attitude, but not a lot of the technical skills, and then to look 2 years later to see how they're not only doing well in their individual role, but incredibly valued by their employers who see them as part of the long-term future of the company. I think that was certainly a very high moment for us. I look at our IT apprentices, many of whom had started in pre-apprenticeship or very early workforce development programs, graduated into the apprenticeship program, then found secured long-term work. Many of whom are now going on to further education, college, and so on. And so, I think that certainly speaks to the kinds of opportunities that apprenticeship provides for people. And then, I think I would also just say, when employers can see the real value of apprenticeship as a way of investing in their workforce and building their talent base, I think that's a success too, because not only is it the individual success of the employee that benefited, but now they're opening their doors for other kinds of employees to participate and benefit from these kinds of programs. So for sure, those opportunities are out there, and our challenge, and thank goodness we have ApprenticeshipPHL to help with this, our challenge is to get more people on this train.
Thanks, John. Ed, do you want to add anything?
So during the pandemic, we had our first former apprentice as a mechanic apply for his schooling that he's going to finally use. Somebody's going around trying to get out of the construction industry. He didn't see a growth in it. I'm not sure. I see plenty of growth in it, but he wanted to move on and further his career. So the good thing was we were able to reach out to Rowan to get his credits and his transcripts and all together. And he's going to be the first one that's successfully enrolled into the NAB2 Building Trades program. So that's pretty much a highlight from our accreditation that everything worked and really did succeed.
That's great to hear. I've been trying to incorporate questions from the audience as we've gone along. So, we discussed a little bit about, diversifying apprenticeship programs with women and people of color. What about diversifying with age? So do any of your programs work with youth apprentices, or have you also had experience, retraining older workers for the field?
I'll just jump in and say, our IT pre-apprenticeship program is highly youth focused and has been very successful at bringing younger people into those younger people of color into those kinds of opportunities. I will say for in-school youth, apprenticeship has a unique flavor, let's just say, and so. The intense level of coordination with the school around time of day and all that sort of stuff adds one more layer of a already fairly complicated model. And so I think we have a lot of interest in exploring that, but that it's non-trivial to be able to do that. And the states that have and localities that are being successful at this, I think they find that it takes some time to actually build in the kind of logistics. Frankly, some liability insurance management, a variety of different things that then enable those programs to be successful. I think pre-apprenticeship is actually a great tool for young people, in part because it also enables a certain amount of career exploration, because a young person may find that this apprentice opportunity isn't actually something they really want to pursue. And we have a little bit of experience of putting young people into apprentice opportunities, and then we find 6 months later that really wasn't what they wanted to do. They weren't ready for that. And there's a certain amount of wasted effort. It was great for them because they learned that this was not what they wanted to do, but probably from the employer's perspective, not exactly what they were looking for. And then I'll just say on the older worker side, I think apprenticeship is in some ways really perfect because it allows for that on-the-job learning and for folks who are doing career switching or, by virtue of the economy and need to look for something different. I think the apprenticeship model is a great model to look at. And our task, I think, as sponsors is to really think about how do you find adjacent skills and capabilities that can be leveraged into apprenticeship opportunities. I think that's probably going to be a growth business for us for the next little bit as we move into a recovery and are really trying to serve folks who have been displaced during the pandemic and now are looking for different kinds of career opportunities.
Thanks, John. Yeah, we've also, had success with using pre-apprenticeship, not with the high school students yet, but even with, more traditionally aged undergraduate students. And I agree, it's a great way for them to make sure that this is the path that they want to pursue. We've also had a lot of success, like you said, with the, career changing adults. So I don't know if Ed or Ray, if you want to add to any of that. Thanks.
Sure. It's kind of funny when I got called to come back to the shipyard. I talked to my boss, the VP of HR, and I said, you really want me back at this age? I'm 64 years old. And he goes, yeah, I want you back, and I'm like, wow, that's great. So we don't discriminate against age. On the younger side, though, you have to be 18 to be able to work in this environment out here. And I think, like John said, the pre-apprenticeship programs are a great start for those that are in high school or technical schools. That they can feed into this program. What we do on our side, though, is we are involved with those technical schools and the schools in the area, as part of like an advisory committee, so to speak, so that we can go in and kind of say, here's the equipment that we're using, here's the techniques that we're using, this is the type of welding that we're doing, here's what ship fitting is all about, so try to give a little bit of education as to what our needs are coming in. And it doesn't just stop at that technical side either. Also, we talk about the soft skills, that are involved, coming to work on time, being respectful in the classroom and so forth. So there's a lot of things that go into it that we do reach out into the community and are involved in as far as those that are under 18 years of age. I will say one other thing that didn't come up yet, and maybe it will, is reentry. So we also, we have, that I remember when I was out here before we had the major layoff, there was a young man that came in and he was filling out his background check, and it was just went on and on and on and on. And he was a young guy, and had a lot of issues in his young life. And, we hired him in, and he literally became a rock star as a welder. And everybody in production wanted him on their team. And on a regular basis, he would come by the training academy and just say, thanks for a second chance. And that means a lot, so there's opportunities there for folks that are reentry as well. And we're proud to have them. A lot of them turn out to be just exceptional workers, and they just needed that extra chance. And I remember when he bought his first car, it was just like, I bought a car, so if that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what does.
Thanks, Ray, and thanks for bringing up the reentry population, which is really important that they have opportunities to get connected through apprenticeship. Ed, do you want to add anything?
Sure. Reentry is great. We don't discriminate here. There's no background check to fill out your application and or get interviewed. We won't ask. Don't really care. As far as the older, we had just in our first class, we're going to have March 1st. We have a 46-year-old, now former tugboat cook. And now he decided he's going to change his career path, and he came in, great interview, fascinating stories. He's had up and down the Mississippi River cooking on a tugboat. It was pretty interesting, but he had a change of heart, and he wanted to change careers, and he'll be joining us starting March 1st.
Great, thanks, Ed. So being cognizant of time, we are already at an hour. So I appreciate that some people, maybe logging off. But I just wanted to give all of you the opportunity, for one last piece of parting advice to any aspiring sponsors in our audience today.
I'll just say, listen to the voice of the employer and map out those competencies, and then devise a program that fits them. And then think about who can help you source people into those opportunities that it can attend both to the skill needs that you're looking for, as well as expanding opportunity to communities in the region.
Good. I guess mine would be communicate, work together. We're all in this on the same thing, and we want the best outcome for the apprentices and be well trained and highly paid.
Yeah, and finally, for those that are still undecided, whether or not they want to get involved in a registered apprenticeship program, every year, typically in November, they have National Apprenticeship Week. And I would highly suggest, putting that on the calendar and go around to the different sites and the different companies and sponsors that have registered apprenticeship programs and see what's going on. It's eye-opening. So a lot of really good stuff going on out there.
Thanks, Ray, and thanks to Ed and John too. Some great insights from our panelists. I just wanted to put another plug in for Philadelphia Works as helping with these challenges, and also for individuals and organizations to reach out if they are interested and want to take the next step toward becoming an apprenticeship sponsor. And special thanks to Maria Del Mar Cabilla and Cassandra Shavni and all of the staff of Philadelphia Works for the support that they give to apprenticeship sponsors and putting together this very timely symposium. I truly believe in the power of apprenticeships to promote recovery, equity, and growth, especially as our country is emerging from the COVID pandemic. So thanks to you all for your time, and thanks to everyone for joining us today.